which is not an island I'm familiar with, but apparently I presume it's in France.
He's actually posed for these photos then?
Yes, and he was also cooking and doing various other activities, and perhaps he forgot that when you're rowing, in French, ramer, the verb to row, means to be in extreme difficulty. So there he is, looking a little bit lonesome on that rather small rowboat, rowing away while the French economy is doing not so well.
Flatlining. Kate did the sign, flatlining.
Exactly.
So
There we
look,
go.
it's an unfortunate image. And when he was Labour Minister, in January 13, he also used a boat metaphor, saying that the unemployment figures were doing well and that the boat was now afloat once more, so to speak. So, of course, at the time, people were using images, unfortunate images such as that. And it's ironic, in fact, that in the last couple of days he also spoke out about social media, selfies and smartphones. So he won't be hugging walls anytime soon or with any sort of smartphone device, it appears, because he doesn't like any of this stuff. But despite all that, Mark, he's just going to have to deal with the viral photos of the boat.
Indeed. He mentioned
rowboat.
he doesn't like Twitter. Now, I mean, my Twitter account at one stage was hacked. Kate, I don't know whether you've had the same issue. James, I daren't ask, but one guy who has far more influence than we do has had his hacked. Who's that?
This is true. I'd almost forgotten. It's Dmitry Medvedev. Had his Twitter account hacked within the last 24 hours, Mark, and all sorts of scandalous utterances, some of them about Vladimir Putin. He was saying that I'm resigning, I'm ashamed by the actions of the government, forgive me. He went on to say, I've wanted to say this for a long time, Vova, you're wrong. Vova is Vladimir Putin, it must be some sort of nickname. Hashtag Crimea is not ours, please retweet. And he went on to say that he was going to take up a career as a photographer. He's apparently renowned for his amateur photography. In any case, it was a group called Shalte Bolte, which means Humpty Dumpty in Russian, who claimed credit for those extremely witty remarks that were not uttered by Mr. Medvedev at all.
Well, when the authorities find them, they'll have to put all the pieces back together again, won't they? I suspect.
As you said.
Well, just my opinion, that's all.
That's right.
Let's talk about the events as they're turning out in Ferguson, Missouri, of course. An extremely serious situation there there's been rioting for the past 4 nights, calls for calm. Barack Obama himself saying it needs to be sorted out. Call from a senator for the situation to be demilitarized.
That's right. And indeed, look, the tension's really visible on photos that are doing the rounds of social media. You can see images such as this showing clashes between the security forces and locals. It is two-thirds African American, and indeed you're seeing elements of kind of race riot type imagery coming out across social media. People even making comparisons to the civil rights movement 50 years ago. So that's obviously very bad news for the authorities, because it's exactly the sort of comparisons that they'd rather avoid. You also have these kind of images on Vine and other social media websites and apps showing the impressive machinery at the disposal of the security forces, which has led some to compare what's going on right now in Ferguson to Iraq. This is Mashable.com, and they have done a whole series of what would you say, side-by-side imagery, essentially showing what's going on in Iraq and showing what's going on in Ferguson, saying, are we actually now using the same sort of techniques in overseas wars as we are in dealing with security at home?
Seeing those kind of things on the street, that kind of policing on the street, it really does kind of like send a shiver down the spine, doesn't it?
It does, I suppose. I mean, militarisation of policing, it's never something positive from the government's perspective in terms of PR. And you have articles like this that are being shared again talking about war gear flowing to police departments. And you have graphics to illustrate that as well, Mark. Now, what that's talking about essentially is with wars winding down abroad, what you have is many of the military surplus tools apparently being handed on to police forces around the country. So what you are seeing is very heavy machinery at the disposal of the FBI or indeed even local police in dealing with unrest such as what we've seen in Ferguson.
Indeed, and obviously more to come perhaps. A very difficult situation, and of course calls for people to step back and take a more balanced look at things. James, thank you very much indeed for Media Watch. Thanks also to Kate Moody on the other side of our studio with all the business, and thank you too for watching. Do stay with us.